Hey guys, I know I'm jumping on a few minutes early. That's me hoping that you guys aren't on watching live because it's really hard to read to you guys live. Makes me nervous, and sorry for these bruises. I don't know what happens. Anyway, we are going to do live reading for book number 13, The Hunt for the Lost Treasure of the Knights Templar. I've been working on this one since last summer. And I finally finished it about a month ago, maybe a little more, and so I thought it was time we do a reading. So I'm going to do the prologue and the first two chapters. Prologue. Archaeologists have been searching for the lost treasure of the Knights Templar for over 700 years. Until recently, many believed the treasure was hidden in Nova Scotia, but no hard evidence has come from that location. Fortunately for the world, Sutton Reece has also been in search of that treasure along with the help of her husband, Walter Reece, who also funds her research. Fun fact, I changed that main guy's name like 3 times. He was Marcus. He had another name. Now he's Walter. So that's what I do. A friend of Sutton's gave her a lead on another probable location in Acre, Israel. Using modern technology in which lasers can see through the earth and offer a 3D image of what is below, a series of tunnels was discovered underground where the Knights Templar once thrived. Tunnels were likely used by the Knights to gain access to their treasure tower while remaining undetected. Since Acre is a port city, it allowed for the Knights Templar to move in and out of their treasure tunnels with ease. The group controlled the city of Acre for 100 years. The initial digging to gain access to the tunnel took 6 months, but now the treasure hunting can begin. Chapter 1, Trip Planning. Sutton woke and rolled over onto Walter's chest. You funded my entire investigation into the lost treasure of the Knights Templar. You have come with me. You have to come with me on this adventure, she pleaded with a small, mischievous smile. Walter replied, his eyes opening groggily. I'm too old for a treasure hunt, my darling, but I have every confidence in your abilities to get the job done, he added. She shook her head. If you want to find the lost treasure of the Knights Templar, then you will have to join me, she teased. I don't believe I will be able to go on this journey unless that demand is met, she offered her ultimatum, which she'd been rehearsing for a few days prior to this conversation. She continued, Don't you ever want to be a part of the search and not just the money behind the operation? You're planning to give up on your life's work just because I won't accompany you into those tunnels, he asked, with a small chuckle at how ridiculous her threat sounded. She sat up, crossed her arms, and retorted, You don't think I'll do it? He shook his head and replied. Sutton huffed. I love hunting down lost treasures, but that work takes me away from you for extended periods of time that I don't enjoy because I miss you. Would I give up this adventure for more time with you? Absolutely, she finished, her explanation causing him to let out a sigh. He sat up and moved closer to her, placing his hands on her upper arms. You're serious, disbelief evidence in his expression. 100%, she stated, locking her eyes onto his. If you won't join me, then you'll have to hire another archaeologist to finish this job. Walter released her. My dear, I have meetings and obligations that make it impossible for me to drop everything and go hunting with you, he challenged, grasping at straws. Sutton shook her head. Not only are you the boss, but you are also the wealthiest man in the world. I'm pretty sure you can rearrange your schedule. What else you got, she offered, raising her brow. Well, you've certainly thought this all through, haven't you? She gave him a small nod, allowing him to continue. I don't have anything else to fight back with other than my age. Darling, I'm 55 years old. Do you really want me traipsing through those tunnels with you? He asked, honestly. Sutton took her turn to move closer to him. Walter Reece. If I thought you were too old for this adventure, I wouldn't ask you to join me. But the hard work has been done. Come and enjoy this discovery with me, she added, puffing her lips into a pout for added effect. You've covered all your bases, I'll give you that, he conceded before adding, don't you have an entire team there to help you with the dig? She shook her head once more. I've canceled my team. It will be just you and I. Walter scoffed. That's ridiculous. I would insist on having at least a few members of my security there with us. Us? She asked with a grin spreading across her lips. He moved forward, snaking his hand from her knee up her thigh. Yes, us. You've won again, darling. He leaned closer until his lips were mere inches from hers. How shall we celebrate? Sutton closed the gap, pressing her lips to his, while moving to straddle his lap, running her hands through his thick, dark, graying hair and pulling his glasses off to place them on the bedside table. Chapter 2. Flight to Acre. Later that afternoon, Walter returned from his morning meetings to find Sutton packing her things. "When do we leave for Israel?" he asked, shaking her from her focus. "Tonight. I've chartered one of your jets." She turned to face him as she answered. "We'll arrive with enough time to sneak in a nap before we go down into the tunnel." She was unable to hide her enthusiasm. He sat down his briefcase as he pulled off his suit jacket. "You don't think that detail was perhaps something to mention this morning?" Sutton put the sweater she'd been holding into her suitcase before moving toward Walter, wrapping her arms around his neck even though he was significantly taller than she was. "Mr. Reece, I have seen you pack in less than 10 minutes, so..." "No, I didn't think to mention that detail this morning," she released him. Would you like me to help gather your things?" Walter shook his head. "I will be fine on my own." He changed the subject as he began gathering items from his closet. "I've handpicked 10 members from my security team to join us. They are the best of the best. I'll send 5 ahead of us to continue the dig forward and have the other 5 behind us watching our backs," he informed us, which was no surprise to her after all the years she'd known him. "I would expect nothing less," she teased as she moved back to gathering the things she'd need for their journey. "Be sure to pack more than button-downs and dress pants." "You do own other clothes, don't you?" she teased playfully. Walter merely shook his head in response, though as he was looking through his clothes, he realized her teasing may very well have been accurate. When was the last time he did something other than go to a business meeting, he thought to himself. Sutton spoke again, interrupting his thoughts. "Be sure to pack a weapon to have on yourself. You can never be too cautious on a mission like this." "What kind of threats are you expecting?" he inquired. "Have I been in the wrong not to accompany you on all these different adventures over the years?" She let out a soft laugh. "Anyone who has seen the news and wants to be rich could pose a threat. I've never run into trouble before, but I'd hate to be caught off guard," she added, justifying her initial suggestion that they each carry a weapon to be safe. She wasn't ready to reveal any of the real threats she'd received since she started her search for the Knights Templar treasure. Not just yet. Sutton couldn't risk anything or anyone giving Walter an easy out to cancel on joining her, or allowing her to go on her own. He couldn't help but shake his head in response to her. "I'll be sure to pack something to defend us with. Why have you neglected to mention the dangers of your work before now?" "Obvious reasons. Look at how you're overreacting at the mere thought," she replied. "Focus on the packing and less on the past," she added, as she made her way toward him and placed a small kiss on his cheek from her tippy toes. A few hours later, Walter and Sutton boarded one of his private jets to travel to Israel, hopefully to uncover the lost treasure of the Knights Templar. "Are we allowed to drink on the jet, or is this trip all business?" he asked, a sly grin crossing his lips. Sutton rolled her eyes as she responded. "This trip is not all business," she began. "You can have a drink on the flight over. There's actually a lighthouse right by the entrance of the tunnel where I thought we could share a date before we go underground," she suggested. Walter reached out for her hand, which she gladly gave. "I suppose it would be good for us to go on a spontaneous date night during our spontaneous trip, since we've been married for over a year now. They say it's good to keep things exciting," he shared, as his thumb rubbed small circles on the back of her hand. She pulled her hand away so she could pour them each a glass of white wine. Once she was ready, she returned to the seat facing him and passed him the drink before she motioned to toast. "To us and the many adventures to come," she stated, before they clinked their glasses together, and took a sip. And that puts us into chapter 3, which is the date night right before they go into the tunnels. So, I've placed the link to the book on this video, I guess. Jump in and finish it if you want to. If not, all good. Anyway, have a good night. Bye, guys.